Hi, everyone, and welcome to There's No Such Thing as Normal, a podcast about neurodiversity, disability, and mental health. I'm Lou, your host, and I'm neurodivergent myself, and I'm also completely blind. So, in this episode, I'm going to be giving you a brief, simple overview on anxiety. Now, of course, anxiety is a massive topic, and there is so much that I could go into. So, this is just going to almost be the intro, and I'm going to follow this podcast with many other episodes on anxiety, but going into more detail into the things that I mention. So it's kind of just meant to be brief and easy to understand, basically an overview. So what is anxiety? Well, it might seem like a silly question because, you probably know what anxiety is, but let's just go over it anyway. It's a feeling of worry, it's a feeling of unease, and it's a feeling of maybe being unsafe or unsure or uncertain. So, we've all experienced anxiety, so I'm sure you'll know what I mean. It's just that feeling. You might be afraid or scared or, uncertain. It can manifest in so many ways throughout the body and the mind. So there are physiological effects, psychological effects, and behavioral effects. That does sound complicated, but it's not. I'm going to break it down. Physiological is basically referring to the effects on the body. So the physical effects, think of, physiological as the physical effects. So that would be the fight or flight response. So, having a faster heart rate, sweating, shaking, basically the body's kind of working overtime, tense muscles. It's the body is preparing for a threat and it thinks that you're in danger. So it's then going to sort of fire up. We've got the psychological effects of anxiety. That's sort of how the anxiety affects your brain. How does it make you feel in your head? The thoughts, the way that anxiety is, it feels, the way it thinks. Not the way it thinks, but the way it makes you think. And, might be intrusive thoughts or repeated thoughts or, emotions. It's the psychological effect is more about the emotions. And then the behavioral impact, that's how it makes you behave and how does it make you act and, appear to the outside world. So it could be that you're restless, maybe. Could be that you're, everyone's so different. Some people go really quiet when they're anxious, whereas other people might become really talkative. They might talk really, really fast. I don't know. It's all just, how it affects your behavior. It might have, if you're feeling anxious, you might behave in a way that you wouldn't normally behave, behaving in a way that's not your usual. Anxiety can make you do things that you wouldn't normally do or, say things that you wouldn't normally say. Basically, just the way it makes you act, really. Anyone can experience anxiety. In fact, I think everybody has experienced anxiety. I don't think anybody could say, I've never, ever been anxious, because it's actually something that is really common and most of us will experience it at some point, and then it'll sort of go away again. So, common things that affect, that can cause people anxiety are things like interviews or exams or maybe going to a new school or a new job or a new college, new things and moving house, even simple things like not being able to find something, when you're sort of rushing about, being late, just anything that's sort of important. And I think, anxiety is the way your brain is trying to protect you and trying to make you, problem solve and everything. But the thing is, though, although anxiety is a very common thing and it's not always a problem, it's just one of those things that we all experience. When does it become a problem? Well, it becomes a problem when it's affecting your quality of life and when it is persistent, meaning lasting for a long time. So if it's lasting for longer than it should, and it's having a big impact on your life, so you might notice that you're too anxious to do the things you would normally do or enjoy. It might be affecting your, social interactions. Might be affecting your sleep. It might affect how much you're eating. I don't know. There's just so many things. And I think as soon as you're getting to that point where, this anxiety is really getting too much and you're starting to feel overwhelmed, then that is when it's becoming a problem. Because, as I say, it can come up for a specific reason, like an interview, and then it will go back down again, and that's kind of how it would work. But if it's, persistent, it sort of just keeps on going, and you might not even know what you're anxious about. That's really common as well. You can just get a feeling of anxiety. It's it's a funny old thing. I suppose that brings me on to what causes it. I don't know. Some people are more prone to developing anxiety than others, and I think, I have anxiety myself, and I am completely blind, and I'm autistic, and I'm ADHD, and all of those three things can cause anxiety. It just depends on the person, and it depends on any additional needs that they might have, the lifestyle. I guess, certain people living in, certain lifestyles might lead to more anxiety. There's just so many causes. But yeah, some people do seem to be at more risk than others of having it. But it's really complicated, really, really complicated. And I could talk all day about this, but I'm going to have to split it up into more episodes. But I've already kind of mentioned it. But how could it affect your your life? And I think, again, these can help you to know if it's becoming a problem. So is it affecting your sleep? Are you finding that you're lying in bed worrying about things, feeling tired during the day? That would suggest that it's affecting your sleep. Socializing. Are you feeling too anxious to go out? Are you not mixing with friends and family? Starting to feel lonely? Going out. Are you not going out as much? Are you too worried to go out? Is it affecting your eating pattern? Because, of course, anxiety can make you feel physical symptoms. It can make you feel sick. It can make you feel, your heart rate and everything. If you're feeling all those feelings, it's probably going to put you off your food a bit. So, again, is it affecting your appetite? Having fun. You can't have fun if you're anxious. So if you're finding that you're just not really, you're too worried to enjoy things, and that's a very key sign that it's needs some attention. Memories, it can actually affect your memories because it takes up a lot of brain space, all that worry, and you might find that you're forgetful, or that you can't remember quite what happened. Of course, there's loads of reasons why your memory might be affected. Of course, anxiety is just one of them, but it can. It's because if you're living in your head, then you're not living in the present moment, and you might sort of put things down and forget where you've put them, or forget appointments because you're so wrapped up in your thoughts. Struggling to access school or work. There's just so many things. I think the basics, though, if it's starting to affect your quality of life and making you, uncomfortable, or, you can generally tell when it's becoming a problem, really. There's loads of different types of anxiety as well. Lots and lots of different types that can affect different people. So, for example, there's sort of generalized anxiety disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, social anxiety, agoraphobia, OCD. There's loads of different types. And again, depending on what type of anxiety, the symptoms will be different, and also the cause will be different, and then what you need to do about it will also be different, which brings me on to the fact that if you are anxious, there are lots of things that you can do. And if you know somebody who's got anxiety, there's lots of things you can do, from self-help to therapies and things. I will do more episodes on the treatments of anxiety, and also like what's worked for me. But again, we're all really different. So one thing that works for one person might not work for another. But to finish off, I wanted to say that if you're anxious or somebody else is, I think one of the main things you can do is just be kind to yourself and others. Being non-judgmental is really important. Just accepting that that's the way you're feeling, or that's the way that somebody else is feeling, but actually there's a lot that can help. I think we can be too hard on ourselves and think, I shouldn't feel like this, or, it's wrong to feel like this. But actually, we're all entitled to our feelings, and everyone else's are valid. And I think just being really respectful of that, and that our feelings are worthy of being felt, basically. and just being kind. So I hope it's been helpful. I've kind of just talked about, the different ways it can affect you, the different types, and how to know when you might need support. But yeah, there's going to be lots more to follow on the anxiety series. So yeah, thanks so much for listening. I'll be back soon. And also, I wanted to say I'm on Facebook at There's No Such Thing as Normal. So if you want to go over there, you can give me any comments or any suggestions or thoughts on this episode. But yeah, thank you. And I'll be back soon.